What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Keep It Hoop YouTube channel. Today, I wanted to go over Colin Sexton's big game against the Brooklyn Nets from this past season. And I wanted to do so because the Knicks, who I'm a huge fan of, for those of you that don't know, have been linked and rumored to be going after Colin Sexton. I'll give my thoughts on the trade overall towards the end of the video, but I wanted to go over what the fit might look like and some of the things he does really well. So let's get started. Something you're going to notice about Colin Sexton, something I'm sure if you watch basketball or even just watch highlights, you can tell he loves to have the ball in his hands, right? Whether it's ISO or going and running the pick and roll, he's someone that thrives and is better with the ball in his hands. And while that might seem like a clash at times, because if you're a Knicks fan or the Knicks brass, I'm sure you don't want too many opportunities being taken away from RJ Barrett or Julius Randle. But if you watch the Hawks series, right, the Knicks-Hawks first-round playoff series, the whole court, the whole arena, everybody on the Hawks knew that the ball and the offense was going to go through Julius Randle. And while that worked during the regular season, you go against better defensive teams, you go against better coaches, and you go up in a series where they can just game plan for that. Julius Randle definitely struggled. And now he got shots, and the Knicks as a whole got shots that they can make at times, but they just struggled to create offense. And Colin Sexton is someone who can help with that. Right, in his third year, right, this past season, averaged 24 points on 47% shooting. And I think even his three-point shooting, which was something that was questioned coming into the NBA for him, he's shooting 38% over his career on about 4 attempts per game. So he's making about 1.5 a game. It's not something that he goes to often, but we've seen him like in this Nets game where he can catch fire, can be streaky at times, but he's by no means inefficient. He does take a decent amount of shots at 18.4 a game. Gets to the free throw line 6.4 times a game, which was a career high for him last season or this past season. So, he's still improving, right? And look, I know I'm a huge fan of Emmanuel Quickly and also of Obi Toppin, but Colin Sexton is younger than both of those guys, I believe. So, in his third season, again, 24. And 4 assists, which isn't particularly high for a point guard. But again, he's probably not going to be the Knicks' main playmaker. That's going to go to guys like Julius Randle, Derrick Rose if he stays, and even RJ Barrett as he continues to improve. So, the fact that he has the ball in his hands right here, running the pick and roll with Drummond, I think this is something that the Knicks can utilize a lot. I think it can help Julius Randle get open looks as he can kind of, as he's coming off here as the roller, the defense is going to have to pay a lot of attention to him, using his strength and footwork to be able to finish around the rim. Another thing I'm excited of is when Mitchell Robinson, if the Knicks do keep him, because he's been involved in some trade rumors as well, but if the Knicks do keep Mitchell Robinson, a huge verticality threat, a guy who has finished a lot of lobs and alley-oops, he's going to, be there for the lob, and that's going to make it really hard for the defense because they're going to have to choose between sagging off and stopping the roller, or stopping Colin Sexton towards a mid-range or a floater or whatever. Because Colin Sexton, again, can shoot the three, but also has the mid-range game. Pretty strong finisher, and has the mid-range game as well. You see here with a really nice floater. So defense is something that Colin Sexton has not been known for, not great at it. The thing I will say is that he at least tries. I think there are times where his size slows him down on defense. I think that there were times where, and I don't want to make this too much of an excuse because it shouldn't be, but you play in Cleveland. It's a losing culture at times, so they just lost a lot of games. Sometimes he did, get caught not paying attention or not trying as hard on defense, but I've seen him playing in Alabama. I saw him in high school when he was playing, a man down. The competitiveness is there, and I think if he's under the right system, under the right coaching, like he's going to get with Thibodeau. So one of the biggest concerns people have with Colin Sexton is his defense, and that is justified. There were times in Cleveland where he lost his guy, where he lost his focus, was a bit lackadaisical, and it seemed like he was focusing more on offense. And I will say also, side note, and while it's not a valid excuse, but playing in Cleveland also, I'm sure, wasn't easy. You build bad habits and it starts to kind of become a losing culture. I do think that with the right coaching and culture, which I think the Knicks have established now, especially with Thibodeau, and we saw the Knicks playing their hearts out defensively, not even having that many talented defensive guys or defensive stoppers on their roster, and still being top five in almost every defensive statistic and analytic. I do think that the Knicks can turn Colin Sexton into a solid defender, because I've seen him try hard and compete, and those aren't the things that are the problems with him. And I think if you have those things, you can still be a solid defender. We saw him at Alabama, playing with a man down and just always competing. So I don't think he's a liability, and I do think he can at least be a solid enough defender, especially under the right coaching, like I said, with Thibodeau. And I think that with his athleticism, his fireness, his speed, explosiveness, plays like this would also really help the Knicks offense. Again, a lot of the Knicks losses last season came from just games where they struggled to get anything consistently on offense, right? A lot of it going through Julius Randle, and it was kind of a one-man show at times. But when you have a good defense like the Knicks did last season, having a threat like Colin Sexton who can get out in transition, get to the free throw line, or finish in traffic can really help. So we see another screen play right here where, again, if it's Julius Randle, he can either stay there for the elbow jump shot, a little pick and pop. He can roll. Again, you have Mitchell Robinson, Nerlens Noel, or Taj Gibson, whichever one of those guys comes back. They're there for the alley-oop threat as well. And, if you have a guy like, let's say, Reggie Bullock or RJ Barrett, who are both pretty good three-point shooters this season, it keeps this defender from helping away. So, they have to stay here. You have whatever other shooter over here, maybe either an Emmanuel Quickly or one of the other wings I just mentioned, even an Alec Burks if he comes back. And that really gives Colin Sexton a lot of room to work with, right? Because you look at the guys on the court right here. By no means, like I've said, throughout this video, the Knicks are by no means a supremely talented offensive team, but they're going to be able to offer more offensive talent than the Cavs did. So the fact that Colin Sexton was able to put up 24 points on efficient shooting with Andre Drummond, Taurean Prince, Isaac Okoro, and Cedi Osman, that leads me to believe that as he continues to get better, and if he's given a better roster, and with good coaching, I think he's going to, continue to thrive under the Knicks system. Again, this is just one play, but doesn't give up. I like the hustle, like the competitiveness, and that's something that Thibodeau loves to see in his players. You see here another really athletic finish by Colin Sexton. Another big thing that, if the Knicks were able to get Colin Sexton and keep Derrick Rose, it slides Rose back into that sixth man spot that he was so good at last year. When he came into the starting lineup in the playoffs, it definitely helped out the starting lineup in their offense, but then the bench came in and there was nothing, right? That second unit really relied on Derrick Rose to score and find guys open shots, much like the starting unit relied on Julius Randle. But with Colin Sexton coming in, again, if he does, then it allows Derrick Rose and then now a second-year Emmanuel Quickly to be those main guys in the second unit, which secures up that rotation as well. And now look, again, I guess some of the concerns about the defense, like I talked about, the fact that he only averaged 4 assists last year compared to, the 2 point something, almost 3 turnovers, not a true point guard. There's definitely some things to be concerned about, but I can already imagine a play like this where he fights for the offensive rebound, puts it back at the end of, overtime, and, the Garden's going to love that, right? New York fans love the hustle, love that energy. And I do think that is one aspect of Colin Sexton's game that wherever he goes, but especially in New York, where they do appreciate that hustle, that battle, that competitiveness, I do think that fans could really fall in love with him. Now, this right here might be one of the biggest things also that really puts Colin Sexton in that category of players that a lot of teams might look at, right? His ability and just confidence to take late game shots. Again, if you look at the Knicks, RJ Barrett has some clutch shots during the season. So did Reggie Bullock, so did Alec Burks, so did Julius Randle, Derrick Rose. But, having a guy who can consistently get his own shot, isn't afraid to take that big shot at the end of games, at the end of quarters, in overtimes, it's going to really help. And just giving Julius Randle another person he can rely on and saving him more for the playoffs, right? Big shot here in Kyrie's face in overtime, up 4 to take the lead to 7. Again, he's never going to shy away from the big moment. And if you're going to play in New York, you need to have that confidence and mentality. And right, granted, this is one of, his career games. But, we see him get streaky, hit big shots, feeling it again. Close to a 40% three-point shooter over his career. So very capable of knocking him down, which is something that the Knicks need. Not just an ISO scorer, not just a guy who can get his own shot, but a guy who can also spread the floor for the likes of RJ Barrett and Julius Randle, because that's something that they really struggled with and missed in the playoffs as well. And again, it's only fitting that this game really ends on a Colin Sexton pass of all things, because he really carried them throughout this game with his scoring. But again, he shows that, again, he's a score first guard. There's no doubt about that. But he does have the ability right here. Not an easy pass either, right? He's driving with his left hand. Has Joe Harris, who's a bigger guy, right on him. With the long gather, goes up in the air. Something you don't love to see. You do want to see him staying on the ground if possible, because it is easier for him to get caught up in the air, maybe end up with a turnover, a bad pass, or or the other team drawing a charge. But still, gets it to Taurean Prince right in his shooting pocket. And you can already imagine a play like this where you have dunker position Mitchell Robinson, so you can't really help off of him too hard, right? Maybe this could be a Julius Randle, which makes it even harder for Kyrie in this position to help off. And then in this corner, you have, again, any of the guys we mentioned earlier, Alec Burks, Reggie Bullock, RJ Barrett, even Emmanuel Quickly, and really on both sides. So I think that would, a play like this would really help those guys get better shots, and then again, just create or allow Julius to kind of step back at times and have another guy who can break down the defense and create shots, not only for himself, but for other people as well. Now, the trade overall, right? Again, the reported trade right now is Kevin Knox, one of the first round picks, and Obi Toppin. I'm a huge fan of Obi Toppin. I wish Kevin Knox would have worked out in New York. That doesn't seem likely anymore. I do think that this is a trade I wouldn't be mad making. I'm in no rush to make it. I don't think it's a deal that we have to do. But if you're just looking at it, the Knicks need scoring. They need a point guard. They need a guy who can get his own shot and also shoot the three. Does he fit 100% of the Knicks system and exactly how they play last year? No, it's going to have to, the players are going to have to adjust a bit, with the offense going through Julius and everything. But we saw that that's not really the way to win in the playoffs, right? Julius isn't at that level yet. And having a guy like Sexton, who is still pretty young, right, is the same age as Emmanuel Quickly, I'm pretty sure, or maybe even younger. And again, averaging 24 in his third year in the NBA, should only continue to get better. If not, then maybe he just stays like this. But I do think it's a trade that I wouldn't be mad at. I do think there's some good potential there. Colin Sexton, RJ Barrett, and Julius Randle definitely doesn't win you the ring or anything, but I do think it's a decent step in the right direction. The only problem that I know people also have a problem with is the fact that he's going into his last year of his rookie contract. So if you're going to give up assets for him, you're going to have to pay him for it to really be worth anything, because they're not going to do anything with him next year, right? In that one season. So by trading for him and giving up assets for him, you're pretty much committing to also paying him next summer. And he's going to get a decent sized contract with the number he puts up, and then has put up. So again, is Colin Sexton my dream point guard of the future? No, I would rather the Knicks hopefully wait for a guy like possibly, De'Aaron Fox or someone. But if the Knicks end up trading for him, I don't mind. I think, again, in the short term, I do think he fixes a lot of the Knicks' problems and gives them, a little bit more versatility, more scoring, and I would be pretty excited for the short term. Again, that's the key word. Because again, there are still a lot of doubts about Colin Sexton, and the fact that Cleveland, a city that doesn't usually attract free agents, is letting go of one of their younger players. There's something to be said about that as well. My thoughts on the trade, my thoughts on Colin Sexton as a scorer, and kind of how he fits into the Knicks offense. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. We'll be back either tomorrow or Thursday with more content, especially with Game 4 of the NBA Finals coming up tomorrow night. Really excited for that. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, and comment. Also follow us on our social media pages. Links will be in the description below. Until next time, peace.